All right. So this week we are a one collabby show. And so, yeah, Mandy, why don't you go ahead and just take us through and give us a little demo on what y'all have gotten accomplished this week. I know you were short one um, member of the team, so you worked together as groups or a group of three for both of these issues.
Yeah, and hopefully I've resolved some of my demoing issues where the screen's blinking out. So please let me know if I'm working on it. Oh, that's just a message from Shalom. Okay, so this is the branch for, let me see. This is the one that creates our token. Yes. Okay. An extra slash in there. So I do think this function could probably be cleaned up, maybe translated into a hook, but for now it works. Hopefully, though, we can get a chance to polish these things in the future.
One great way to kind of tackle that is when you have thoughts and ideas about things that you want to refactor is to go ahead and open an issue for it. And that way it's documented while it's fresh in your mind of what you were thinking you wanted to do. And then also it gives you kind of a paper trail of being able to go back and attach that PR directly to that issue.
That is a good plan. Let me open up my console. Because right now we did set it up so that we're sending the token to Firestore.
Okay.
Open up that as well. So in this case, since there's no token set, oh, actually it has my old one set. Let me go ahead and clear that out. Okay, so there's no token set for the user. So go ahead and click create new list. You'll see a token gets created.
Nice.
There's a few console logs, but actually I don't think it's repeating itself from console logs. I think it's actually from the way the code is written. It's being repeated a few times. But once you have that, you're taken to the list view. I will have to actually switch branches though, because that work was done on another branch. So go ahead and, oops. Switch over there so we can see our list view. Computer's running so slow.
That's okay.
I tried to shut down as many things as I could.
Like Zoom takes so much like processing power as well.
Yeah,
Share screen.
yeah, it does.
Yeah, between on my machine, between Docker and Zoom and Slack.
Yeah, let me shut my video off and see if that helps. I think it's time to upgrade. I don't know if I should wait until the new Macs come out or not, though.
Yeah. One day. Again,
Is that when they? Oh, no way.
we
Well, they
think,
announced
I
it
mean,
Tuesday.
is it Tuesday?
I think
18th?
so.
I thought it was the
It-
18th was the
Yeah, what is
Apple
today's date?
event.
Oh yeah, you're right. I think it is tomorrow. They usually do it on Tuesdays. That's funny.
Oh yeah.
All right.
I could be
So
wrong as well.
here you can see we've got a few items we've added during testing, but here's our add item form. So really like some chocolate really soon. So I'm going to add that, and you'll see it gets added to our database. Go to our list view. Should be there. It might not have gotten, maybe those changes didn't get pushed up yet.
Okay,
So apologize, they're actually not there.
that's all right.
But
Yeah.
hopefully that's actually something that I don't know if you guys want to talk about that now or wait until we have the rest of the group, but I think it's pretty relevant, which is, if you're working on a story and your team's expecting something to be done and you've got a hiccup, like what is the most graceful way to address that? Because we clearly had some carryover from the previous week because we were down a team member. And so I worked on 2.25 stories this week, and so
Yeah.
I don't think we quite it's not as polished, it's not as much as I had expected to get done, but it's also, I think, reasonable considering our challenges.
Yeah, that's a good question. And I mean, do you two mentors want to jump in and say anything off the cuff?
I mean, I guess it's exactly what you just did, which is dressing as a team to say under these circumstances and because of these reasons, I'm running a little bit further behind than I anticipated. So how do we want to make adjustments as we move forward? Can we push our deadline? Can we maybe drop some items and come back to them after the fact? Like, where can we start making some adjustments so that we can get where we need to be when we need to be there?
Yeah, I
Do you
think.
find that's?
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, yeah, you please go.
I was gonna just say, that would be a really stressful situation for me. So, do you find that that's a normal thing to expect, and that it's received pretty well in your experience?
Yeah, I think the key is communicating early. I think it's people don't like surprises, stakeholders don't like surprises, but as long as they know that there are some issues, there are some hiccups, we down a member, then yeah, that's totally expected. And you kind of factor in, you can move things around ahead of time. So yeah.
Just to harp on that, communicate,
Yep.
communicate early, communicate often, over communicate. And
Yep.
that's especially true in a remote working environment like this. So it doesn't really matter whether you got something good to say, something bad to say, whatever. If you're having a problem, everyone else needs to know about it. And so that way we can help adjust timelines, whatever it is. So communicate.
And from a leadership perspective, how do you, I guess, encourage people, that you're in charge of to feel comfortable, I guess, sharing that, when things aren't going well?
Yeah.
Is that a cultural thing? I mean, or is it,
Yeah.
do you find it's different from team to team, or?
I don't have a ton of experience here because I'm in my first tech job. I worked on an open source project that's super forgiving and friendly, but it's open source volunteer work. They can't really be anything other, or else you stop doing things for them. But in my work experience, in our culture, we set it up so that there's plenty of space for that to be communicated. I just and currently working on a team project. I'm actually being lent over to a different team for this particular project for the last couple of months. And we had twice weekly meetings that were specifically for that purpose of here's the deadline that we need to hit. Here's the things we want to get accomplished in that deadline. Can we make it? And every dev update, we would say, are we still on track? Are there things that need to get adjusted? Where are we at? Who's working on what? At what point do we need to make a drop dead decision about that particular difficulty you're facing? So we were just in constant communication as an entire team, including the project manager, as well as the developers and the designers.
Mhm.
Also building that trust and that communication does take a bit of time because like this is a pretty new group. Like you just all met each other. Like we haven't worked together as mentors or like collaborators. So building that
Oh.
trust between each other as well is like really important. And it does take time. So yeah, I think culture 100%. And like we'll have maybe office hours might be a good chance as like those weekly meeting kind of updates. Like that could be a good chance to like check in as well.
Mhm.
You were also,
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Graham.
I was just gonna say, you were asking from like a culture perspective. And I'd say from my perspective of the 3 places that I've worked, the key is to have a low judgment, high responsibility culture. In that the fact that you're not done now, that's not a judgment against you. It's not saying you're bad, you're a failure for not doing this. Instead, it's saying, okay, well, this is your responsibility to get across. So what do we need to do to make this happen? So do you need more time? Do you need more support? You know, how can we as an organization assist you to be able to get that thing done that is your responsibility? It's not a value judgment. Instead, it's just, hey, we all are aligned on getting this thing over the line. How can we help? Is that a fair summary?
I was gonna say, which is in essence what a retrospective is, which is what we had on the docket for today.
Right.
Yes.
What's going well? What could be
yes.
improved? Exactly, which is where a retro fits in. And generally speaking, those are for my team, those are done every 2 weeks. We plan and iterate on what we want to do over a 2-week period, and at the end of those 2 weeks, we get together and say, what did we accomplish? What didn't get done? How can we support each other to make sure that more things get done than don't? And you know, or the process that you guys were doing on that particular thing was really awesome. How can we replicate that so that we can continue to see those results elsewhere?
Mhm.
Yeah. I did pick up a little bit when I had my office hours. I know that you had a pre-appointments, you weren't able to make it. Fatima showed up for a little bit and we talked, and she was feeling really positive and upbeat about what you guys had been able to accomplish, but she also mentioned that you had only just started the second issue like that night. So I kind of already preemptively thought we might need to be making some adjustments as we head into next week on the workload. I think you guys are being very like, we got this, and you're doing great. But it's been a lot, and having that one less person in this particular stage in this project is a challenge. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think considering our challenges, I think we've done pretty well. I definitely don't like being in a situation where we're not where we want to be, but I also have to keep reminding myself it's probably pretty reasonable and it's okay.
Yeah, and like we don't want people like pulling all-nighters or anything. Like this should be capped at 5 hours. Like you shouldn't be doing a lot of work on this, or like too much work on this kind of thing. So yeah, I want to be cognizant of your time as well. So yeah, I think like we can adjust the schedule, and there is time towards the end where there is a bit of leeway to catch up a little bit. There's like this couple of weeks of like design work and stuff that it's not really issue related, but it's more of like a prototyping design focused, which could be a good opportunity to catch up. But yeah, we can play around with it, you know.
It's time for polish.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know if it was on the agenda for today or not to talk about pairing. Do we want to table that, or was that for next week?
I think that's next week's learning.
Okay.
But we can still talk about it. But we do have a learning module set up for next week.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I've done fair bit of pairing, but I feel like I don't have much insight on the how other people do it. You know, I have a pairing partner that I meet with 3 times a week outside of Collab Lab. We know each
Awesome.
other from our boot camp. And a lot of times it's just we're sort of supporting each other in the not always around coding, but just around like the job hunt and all of that. And I realized after pairing with people here that our styles aligned in ways I wasn't realizing.
Hmm.
And you know, like the way that like, we, you know, if we're facing a new issue, we're often like prone to like go look at some examples together, talk it out, try and implement it. You know, that's kind of like our style. And some people I notice kind of just dive right in, and they've got it. You know, maybe they've got a solution in mind and they'll just like go right for it. And I feel like I need to get a lay of the land more, which makes me feel a little bit, I don't know, slower or something. And I'm like, I don't know if that's just self-consciousness or a stylistic thing. So I don't know. That wasn't a clear question, but do you find that some people's styles are just more like suited for each other and some people are, I don't know, it's harder for you to pair with them?
Yeah, I think yes, sure. I will say like, while I love pairing, and I think pairing is great. It might not be for everyone. Like there's some people that would rather just like focus in on a piece of work, and like they find it really hard to like not communicate, but like they find it really distracting to have to like go through and like talk through the problem. And like, well, it might
Yeah.
help maybe in the long term, but it's actually a really painful process for them. So like that might be a case where pairing doesn't really work for them.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think the learning module talks a little bit, I think talks about the roles of pairing, which might be something that like could definitely explore.
Yeah, that could be it too, because I don't think anyone I've paired with has had really strong direction on like how to structure it. So, you know, we're just kind of finding our own way, which is fine, you know. But maybe it'll be helpful to have some sort of like outline for how it can be. I think it definitely like, you know, no matter who you're working with, they're going to be different. So, but yeah, it just hit me this week. I was like, oh, it's really easy to pair with this person because maybe we just have this in common and I didn't realize it. So I started pairing with more people.
I've definitely felt what you just described. When I first started at 1Password, they were kind of in, I don't know, Graham, you can probably speak a little bit more to this, but there was a strong encouragement for more pair programming. And I know there were a few individuals on my particular team that felt very strongly about and had come from a 100% pair environment.
Wow.
And so my first couple of weeks, I worked with an individual that was really patient and, you know, knew that I was new and had been an instructor at a boot camp before. So like they had kind of that experience of taking somebody through the steps as a pairing, mentoring kind of dynamic. And then they had to go off to they were off for a few weeks or something, I can't remember. And so I switched over to pairing with someone else who was the individual who had done 100% pair programming in their past, and their pace was much faster, much just start like just putting stuff down and working it out as you go. And, you know, yeah, we've got all these errors, but we're going to clean them up as we go, you know. And I'm like, I felt really I didn't feel like I had the space to ask the questions that I had in the previous pairing relationship. And so I kind of rolled with it. But it was something that I discussed at my one-on-one with my manager at the time. And so then we kind of made some adjustments because I had kind of that same feeling like I needed to have more time to absorb and to you know, experience the process than that individual was used to. And so we kind of switched things up a little bit. And
Yeah.
for that reason.
I'm naturally inclined to spend a lot of time planning, like on the before I do anything else. So yeah, I'd like to have more time strategizing before I actually even write any code. That's probably
Which isn't
working,
a
though.
terrible thing because I mean, in
Yeah.
some ways, like it's a different process that often probably takes the same amount of work time, meaning like as I go through and I try out this idea and that idea and I get over to here and then, I mean, with more experience, of course, you can get to the solution faster.
Yeah.
And there's certain things that you're just going to kind of intuitively know, like, oh, this is going to be the right, let's start here with this particular problem. But I do think that there is value, particularly in those early development years, of taking that extra second to like really think it through before you start putting the code down, because then maybe you only do 2 iterations instead of 6. So
So to throw in my 2 cents there, the second place I worked was a fintech startup that was growing very, very rapidly. And so they had a couple, air quotes, savants who were the ones who had built the whole thing, right? And these people were very, very well skilled and also had an ego to match. And they didn't like the idea of pairing, it's slowing me down, etc. And so what the employer at the time was doing was that they're grabbing co-op students like me, and also we're grabbing people fresh out of boot camps and saying, hey, come on, we need you to help us build this new application. It's going to, revolutionize the Canadian mortgage industry. Yay. And anyways, there's a very strong push for doing a lot of pair programming by the VP of engineering there. And I absolutely agree with his perspective and his choice, which is that, yes, it's going to slow everyone down a little bit at the very beginning, but you get a chance to learn from each other. You get to see how everyone works together. You get a feel for how you work with your coworkers. And at the end of the day, you're all going to be a heck of a lot faster. So I think pair programming is incredibly important, but you do also have to kind of work on that relationship. Those people who might not want to pair, you have to kind of give them a little space, but they also have to give you a little space. It's kind of like a working negotiation, if you will, right? So what I found very effective was to be overly explicit when joining those pair sessions. So for instance, I would be like, I don't understand this part of the code base. Can we go slower on this section? Or I don't understand what you're doing here. Can we go back and go over it? And just pepper them with lots of questions. And the other one that I found was really useful was that if someone knows more than me, ask if I can drive. So if I can drive and there can be the one telling me what to do, and then you can have the ability to stop and say, I don't understand why you want me to do that. and say, I'm not, and essentially do the whole, I'm not typing another word until you explain.
You get to set the pace.
Exactly. So sometimes the switch between who's driving and who's speaking is very effective.
That's a really great point, Graham. And it's something that in those early stages, I was too self-conscious to do, but I now see where that would have definitely been to my advantage.
Yeah, for sure.
Feels like
Another
a good
thing
investment up front.
Yes, another thing is also just kind of recognizing your style and your own self. And maybe before you get to the pair session is to, just kind of thoroughly go through the acceptance criteria that you're going to be looking towards and kind of putting in your own pre-work so that, if you know for sure that you're going to be pairing with somebody that maybe is a bit more, let's just get in there and get dirty, then maybe you've already done some of your pre-work so that you have some of that planning in your head already, and then you don't have to feel like you're slowing them down with it.
Yeah, that's pretty much my strategy at the moment. And I also wasn't sure, I'm like, is that normal? Am I, spending too much time on this? But I have to do what I have to do to feel comfortable, I'm not great at being on the spot. So the more I can kind of like prep myself, the easier it is to, kind of feel like I'm keeping up or not too overwhelmed.
Yeah. I think communicating, like it comes back down to communicating, doesn't it? Where like you can talk to your partner and be like, hey, this is my energy levels, like this is where I'm at. I think like that part's really important, just to keep talking. Like that meta level of pairing where it's like, how is the pairing actually going? And like, how do I feel right now?
Yeah, that's why I dropped something in the Slack channel about feeling awkward. Just trying to just be open about it because it's a guarantee I'm not the only one.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah.
I think the other thing too is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but just where you're at in your experience and your development and your career is that you're kind of working on quote smaller code bases, building like small applications and activities and things to keep yourself like utilizing your code. And it's a little bit of a different experience when you're in a much larger code base where you're doing, edits and additions to. And so, you do reach a point to where you remember having seen something similar to that over in this part of the code, and then you can kind of go over and then at some point you start to just remember how that is implemented typically because you've done it so many times. And so then you're able to get to the solution faster just simply because of the familiarity with the style, the code, the project, all of that.
Mhm.
So it's just a little bit different experience working in that from those two different like established code base that you've been in for a while versus,
Yeah.
I've only been working in this code for 3 months or 2 weeks or,
I feel like I have heard that talked about in terms of like how quickly can you get something pushed once you join a new company or a new team. Like
Yeah.
how efficient are they at getting you on board and supporting you in that process so that you can get your first push out to production.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that I found to be a really big advantage to having worked on the open source project. And again, it was technically an internship. So it's the same experience you would get through an internship, it was my very first time putting somebody else's code onto my machine and then opening it up and realizing, and this isn't even a large application, but it's significantly larger than anything I had ever worked on. And, so it was a really great learning experience. And then because I continued to contribute to that, and so now I've been contributing to that code base for 2 years now. I can partake in conversations about sections of code that I haven't worked in a while, but I've worked in them enough that I remember the general flow of what happens over there. And then obviously at work I have the same experience, but yeah, so it's not the easiest to get started in open source, but I really, really highly advocate for those who are trying to get their foot in the door that it's a great experience in that respect. Because you do get to experience what it's like to be in a code base that's already established and being used, and how to find your way around in that code, and just making small fixes versus building a fresh feature is a different skill set. So
To add one final thought, the purpose of Collab Lab isn't to deliver a beautiful application. Purpose of Collab Lab is to learn how to work with one another. So what you're learning right now is awesome because this is the exact problem that we face in our daily lives of working as professional software developers. So this is the core Collab Lab experience.
Exactly.
No, I appreciate that so much. Yeah, not really about the code, but just like that had growing some confidence, like, well, what is normal is what I think, what everyone else thinks. Like, what are my right and left limits? How do I navigate this? Like, that is of so much value.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Any other questions? Any other thoughts?
No, I think that's it. So thanks for helping tamp down my anxiety a bit.
No. Well, definitely please reach out if you're ever feeling anxious or like if there's anything that you need help with. Like, we're always here.
Thank you.
And if you feel like there's something that you want to talk about that maybe you don't want to put in the channel, that you feel free to DM us. And if it is something that we think the whole group needs to kind of have some insight into, there, we can address that in a way that is neutral, so that the issues or concerns that you might have or whatever, others might be feeling it, but maybe you don't feel like you really want to put yourself out in the singleton way. Like, let us know. Like, we're here to help you to do that process.
Yeah. I mean, so far I don't have any complaints. Like, I think that my teammates have done amazing stepping up, to fill in those gaps. And, we all have lives in our working or being parents. And so, no, it's been great.
Yeah.
So
no, that's
far.
great. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
I appreciate that. So I guess I'll let you all get back to
Yeah.
your Sunday.
So go ahead.
We need to still address like what we want to do about
Yep.
issues. If we want to just, where do you feel you're at? I know Jordan comes back on Tuesday, so at some point he'll assimilate back in. I'm not sure if we want to just continue, probably best to just continue maybe the mobbing, but with that fourth person. So that way you all can get them up to speed on where you're at with everything. Or do you
Yeah.
think splitting it back out? I don't know, we talked a little bit as mentors on whether we wanted to just do one issue this week instead of two. But if you're
Mhm.
feeling like maybe just finishing out the two you have, like we can make that work too.
Yeah, I actually don't think that we had officially like requested code review either. And since we're all kind of, we've done a lot of synchronous coding this week, it's actually not been a whole lot asynchronous. So we could actually, I think, use review on each one. And I think getting those merged might be a good plan before we actually move on to the next thing. You know, even if there are some loose threads like a refactoring, it's probably best to at least get those merged maybe on Monday night. And then, yeah, I think Jordan will be back on Tuesday.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's right.
So I don't know. I actually haven't looked ahead yet to the next two stories. Do you think it's wise to just try and tackle one while we reintegrate Jordan?
I think it depends on like how much is left of your current work. Like if you think you can get it in merged by like tomorrow night,
Mhm.
then like maybe we can tackle more than one. I'd still err on maybe just one for now, just to give you that space in that breathing room in case you do need to take time to recover from like last week if that was a pretty particularly hectic week.
Mhm.
And then if you're finding like, hey, this is like not enough work, or like you finish it really fast, or like it's an awkward thing to have 4 people working on one story, then we can always pull in like another story as well.
Yeah. I think like that we hit the general acceptance criteria for both stories.
Yeah.
Like I think they could probably be a little bit cleaner, but they work.
Nice. Yeah.
Uh,
Well, yeah, if you request like code review, like switch it over from a draft, then yeah, we can take a look at it. Because yeah, like you said, you 3 have already synchronously worked on it, so it's not like you're waiting for a code review from a Collab kind of thing.
yeah. Okay. I can try and sync up with the Fatima and Shalom tomorrow. I'll drop a message on Slack, but yeah, maybe we can put
Awesome.
those in review status and
Yeah.
go from there.
Do you want to move them from draft today, or do you want, I mean, we could probably still review them at draft form,
We totally
Jonathan.
could.
I mean, if you don't
Yeah.
think there's going to be any, I know you said there was maybe some work on that second one that hadn't got pushed yet, or maybe you haven't pulled it, one of the two, when you did the
Yeah,
demo.
there may be. I might need to go look at it, and frankly, getting them both merged will work better because then demoing it would have been a lot easier if they
Yeah.
were ready to merge, because one's
Yeah.
like dependent on the other.
Right.
Yeah.
But that list component didn't show up, so I actually need to go check in and see what's going on with that.
Okay. So maybe you're waiting on some more commits to be pushed, kind of thing.
Yeah, there might be.
Okay.
So I'll catch up with the other two people, and I'm thinking probably we'll request a review tomorrow because I don't think either of them are very available tonight.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I
Sounds
think I
good.
like Jonathan's plan about let's plan on tackling like issue 5. And then if you guys feel strong enough as you go through and you finish out 3 and 4 and you start working into 5, that you can split off and have, you know, a pair of you guys do 6 as well, or get started on it even, then that's great. But otherwise, I think maybe just focusing on trying to make it a goal to have the 5th issue, you know, 3, 4, and 5 all into master by next week, might be a little bit more doable and realistic without overstretching you all.
Yeah, I think that's a good call because it'll probably take Jordan a little bit to feel comfortable jumping back in.
Catch up again.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much he's been looking at your PRs or anything to know kind of what you all did.
Yeah.
Hopefully not much.
Yeah,
He should be on
I hope so.
vacation.
Yeah, exactly.
I believe in vacation. Unplugged.
Right?
100%. Okay, cool. So I'll have office hours this week, so I'll set up sometimes.
Okay.
So maybe we can split it over multiple days as well, just in case you need that time to catch up. And then next week, it sounds like we're going to extend this meeting if that works for everyone here.
Yeah.
And then we'll do retro. Graham, if you could lead that again, thank you.
Happy to.
Awesome. And then demos as well. And learning module.
Learning module,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's it.
All right. So
Cool.
one story. Yeah. Sounds like a good plan.
Yeah,
Right.
I'll I can post in Slack as well about the issue decision stuff.
Thank you.
Do you want to do a quick read over on issue 5, Jonah, just to
Yeah.
see if there's any questions that come up from Andy? I don't know if you've
100%.
had a chance to look at it yet.
I can definitely do a read over. All right. Cool. Can you guys see this?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Awesome. So issue number 5, as a user, I want to join an existing shopping list so I can share a shopping list with another person. So this is using the tokens that you've kind of already set up a little bit. So tokens can be shared with other users to allow them to co-manage a given list. And then joining a list consists of user enters an existing token, save the token to local storage, show the user the existing list. So the acceptance criteria: when the user does not already have a token in local storage, on the onboarding/home screen, a simple form is displayed that allows the user to enter a token. And then entering the token and hitting submit saves the token to a local storage, effectively giving them joint control of the list. On submit, show an error if the token does not exist. And if they get an error message, allow them to try again or create a new list. So yeah, this looks like it's all about joining an existing list, since you're already kind of creating a token when you generate a new list. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're a little ahead of the game on that one. We
Yeah.
have managed to send the token to Firestore, which is great.
Nice. Yep. Yep, for sure.
Cool.
Any questions? Are you good?
No, I did remember that we, unfortunately, I don't think we've addressed the accessibility issues either that were mentioned on 3 and 4. So that's another loose end. I just popped up in my head. So
Yes.
another good reason to delay and maybe just do one story.
Yeah. And it sounds like if you already kind of have that Firestore going, it looks like this is really just a form that you need to create, and then you just need to read from that Firestore.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think on the wireframe, it's just that second there, does the already joining a list and then another input box for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I think that's very doable.
Okay, cool. Well,
Great.
I'll post Slack about that one issue. And then we're good.
All right. Cool.
Before we go,
Yes.
I just wanted to say, Mandy, good job this week. Really good job. It's abnormal
Yeah.
to have 3 people. It's abnormal to be doing mob programming. It seems like you've hit all, if not most, if not all of these acceptance criterias. You're ready to tackle the one. You came to the meeting and, good job. Thank you for all your hard work. It's really appreciate everything that you do. So good job. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely
Doing my
seconding
best.
that, especially
Mhm.
taking on that last hiccup from the previous week and
Yes.
having to kind of manage through that on your own, in
Yeah.
addition to everything else. It's been, I know it's been a lot, but you've really stepped up really well, and it's awesome. It's great.
I appreciate it. And your resources were so helpful. Like I feel really confident now with Firestore.
Good.
From that.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's been a big win.
Yeah,
Awesome.
great.
Awesome. Yeah.
then,
Well,
y'all.
thank you.
Yeah.
See you next
Likewise.
week, and feel free to be noisy in the channel if anything
Yes.
comes up. If you have questions or whatever around the accessibility, I've done a fair amount within my work code to kind of bring things up to speed there. And so I'm not by any means an expert, but I do have a fair amount of experience kind of making those adjustments. So
Yeah, I don't have much experience testing accessibility. So if you had some resources for or tools that you can use for testing it, like screen readers and whatnot.
do you
that would be cool.
Do you have a Macintosh or do you have a Windows?
On Mac.
Okay, Macintosh has a built-in screen reader called VoiceOver that you can activate and use. And honestly, that's what I use 100% of the time to do my screen reader testing.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, for those that do Windows, I know there's JAWS and NVIDIA, NVIDIA, I think it is. I don't remember to what extent they're free or subscription based, but those are kind of the two other universally used screen readers. But it's nice that Mac has one built in. The only caveat is it doesn't play well with Firefox. So you will need to use like Chrome or Brave, a Chromium based
Yeah.
browser to get the best experience out of that one.
Okay, cool.
Awesome.
But yeah, if you need any additional resources or help, just ping me and I'm happy to provide.
Yeah, we do have an
Um,
accessibility learning module, but it's not until like week 7. So
I
it's a
know.
while away.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Awesome.
see you. Well, I'll see some of you probably on Wednesday, but stay well till then.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Right.
Bye.
Bye.